Yay!
What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Big show tonight because there's lots of stories to tell. Kim and I this weekend got to participate as crew for a wonderful friend of ours who competed in the Cascade Crest 100, which is a very special, important race to both of us. It was my first 100. We gave it a shot last year. This year, a bunch of friends were running it, including our guest tonight, who we were very fortunate enough to crew. So tonight's episode is going to be all about the Cascade Crest 100, featuring our good friend, Ely Gerbin. I think Caitlin Gurbin is going to be joining us in a little bit too. Kelly, which is Caitlin and Ellie put together. It's like Brangelina.
Nice one.
Whoa, I am firing on all cylinders. Can you tell that I've been up for 3 days, essentially?
You have no excuses on tonight's show featuring Ely Gerbin, who just finished Cascade Crest.
Absolutely no excuse. So sit back, relax. Welcome to the show, everybody. Very excited about tonight's episode. It should be a lot of fun. I promise you it will be a lot of fun. Okay, sit back. Here we go. Ginger Runner Live, episode number 225.
It's up there.
Starts now. Ginger Runner. Yay! What is up? Good timing on the wine drinking. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 225. We are getting up there in terms of episode numbers and age and blood alcohol level. Honestly, this is the first drink I think we've had in a couple days, which is good. Thank you for saying.
What is going on?
I don't know why. My brain tonight, for some reason, is mush, and I think I know why.
Was it all the Sour Patch Kids you've been eating
Sour
today?
Patch Kids that I've been eating today. We had leftover crew food, and
It's true.
Basically, our lunch, breakfast, dinner was Sour Patch Kids. First, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to spend a little bit of it with us tonight. We love spending Mondays with you guys, and tonight we're really excited because this show is going to be about a race that's very, very special to us. It was my first 100-mile race, at this point my only, but just being able to crew and spectate this event year after year, it continues to inspire me. I am like on Ultra Sign Up trying to figure out the next 100-mile race because I just get so inspired by this one. Our guest tonight is a wonderful human. We've had him on the show before. His partner in crime, Caitlin Gurbin, is an incredible ultra runner. Just crushed Western States. We had her on a recent episode. But he himself is also a very talented ultra runner. I've got a chance to train with him a couple of times. Kim and I both have. And every time we run with him, it's like, yeah, he's fast. Yeah, he's powerful. He's got the powerful quads, the great climbing legs. He's a fantastic ultra runner. So Ely Gerbin will be joining us on tonight's episode because he just ran Cascade Crest 100. He has a pretty interesting story because a year ago he took on a very difficult 100-miler as his first. It's called IMTUF. It takes place in Idaho. It's a bonkers race. He had a pretty rough go at that race. We'll talk all about it and what occurred over the last year to get him ready, both mentally and physically, to toe the start line of another 100-miler. I think this is a common experience that many of us have or will face. We have a big goal. We attempt it. Maybe it doesn't go quite as we plan. And we need to figure out how to try again for ourselves. And so tonight's episode is going to be all about that with our guest. Before we even introduce Ellie, though, we have some people that we would like to thank. Of course, all of our Patreon supporters, those who continue to support us on the monthly level. We are able to do this live show, all the reviews. We did 5 reviews last week during Review Week, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we're able to do all of this because of the support of Patreon supporters. 3 in particular help us at the top tier, and we get to shout them out each week. Chris Lee from Hong Kong and his wonderful organization called Trailblazer. They raise money for charities. They also showcase a lot of the local trails. They do wonderful events at their space. If you find yourself in the Hong Kong area, or you are from Hong Kong or will be visiting Hong Kong, make sure you visit Trailblazer, their brick and mortar area, location. You can get supplies and maps and trail advice. It's a wonderful thing. Rick Bjarnason and his team at cheekymonkeymedia.ca up in British Columbia. They're an amazing group of talented web designers. He himself, big ultra runner, took on 2 big races this summer, Sinister 7 as well as Fat Dog 120. Unfortunately, Fat Dog was canceled due to smoke and fires. And it sounds like rightfully so, because the smoke in the Pacific Northwest has been brutally bad. The worst I've ever experienced, the worst that the region has ever experienced. So unfortunately, Rick wasn't able to run the Fat Dog 120, but he's getting back to running, and it's great to be able to talk to him. So big shout out to Rick and his team. They're amazing people. Currently doing the gingerrunner.com website.
Mm-hmm.
Really excited.
It's looking good, too.
And finally, Mr. Brian Sands, longtime supporter of the show, viewer. I believe he's probably in the chat room tonight. I see him right there. Brian is a wonderful human being who just ran his first marathon last October, in the process of losing over 100 pounds now, and ran his first 50K a matter of weeks ago. Just crushed it. Currently training for another 50K and his first 50-miler coming up next year. Brian is just an inspiring person, really, really wonderful human, and has a surprise for the Patreon supporters coming up very, very soon. He's very giving, and he's going to be giving away an entry to next year's Orcas Island Trail Camp that takes place here in the Pacific Northwest, which he has participated in the last couple of years. He is giving away a camp entry.
Which is pretty awesome, because that thing sells out. We've been there the last couple of years, and it's incredible.
It's basically a scholarship that allows you to go participate in this trail camp on Brian, which is a wonderful thing. So if you're a Patreon supporter, get ready, because we're going to be doing a contest to give that away very soon. So here we are, episode number 225. Our guest tonight, we've had him on before, just a wonderful human. We are fresh off of the Cascade Crest experience this weekend, so I apologize if my brain is a little mush, but it's like, if my brain is mush, I can't imagine what Ellie's brain is going through right now, because he crushed it out there and ran his ass off, and it was a really wonderful thing to experience, to witness. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Ely Gerbin.
Yay!
How are you?
My brain is so mushy.
How are you, man?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Like, the first thing that Ellie said when we just connected on Skype there, he's like, I am walking around and it feels so good. And I was like, every video I've seen from people from Cascade Crest this week, it's hilarious. There's a lot of that zombie walk sort of thing, but you feel good.
Yeah. I mean, this morning was rough. Caitlin and I live in a townhome, which after hundreds is like pretty unfortunate, because it's a lot of stairs to get like anything you need. But I don't know, it's like 6 p.m. here in the Pacific Northwest right now. And after a day full of walking, my legs are feeling okay. Like, surprisingly good. Way better than like the last time I tried this distance.
That's awesome. Because I still have like PTSD from my legs feeling a certain way after Cascade Crest.
Are you still sore from crewing?
I'm still sore from crewing too. Like, I can't walk. I'm surprised I'm even able to sit right now. That's awesome. Is there any secret to that? Did you do anything specific, like, between finishing and now?
A lot of napping, a lot of eating junk, just because, like, I feel like after races is the one time, well, it's the only time I like truly feel like I have an excuse. All the other times it's like fake excuses, because I just eat crap all the time, like whatever I want. But yeah, I don't know. I think part of why it feels better, I think, is because the whole race went better. I actually ran a bunch as opposed to like walking the whole thing. So like, consequently, it's like I definitely can't run. I tried to take a few steps of like running to be like, oh, like, I'm walking. Will this feel okay? And that was a no-go. Definitely no running right now.
I think that's okay. I think you did a lot of running this last weekend. So I want to, before we even set the stage of this race, why you started, how you spent the last year, I want to remind everyone, of course, that it's not just Ellie and myself. It is also Kim.
Hi, guys. As always, I am in the chat room. We are live. We have our wonderful guest, Ellie, live, too. So if you guys have questions for him about his race, please pop them into the chat room. There's already a lot of questions rolling in. We have people that volunteered at Cascade this weekend in the chat room as well. So
a lot of love to all of the volunteers, Rich White, Adam Huey, the entire staff and crew for this race. There is a reason why Kim and I continue to go back, whether we are running or not, volunteering or whatever. It's a cast of incredible humans that put this thing together.
It's kind of like family. It's like
family.
It feels like going home.
It's family.
Yeah.
So, Elliot, what I want to kind of figure out is let's go ahead and set the stage for this race. So let's tell us a little bit about your first 100 experience, when that was, where it was, why you chose it, that sort of thing, just so we can get a little bit of the history for you.
Yeah, so my first 100 was IMTUF, which is an awesome name for 100, by the way. It stands for the Idaho Mountain Ultra Trail, or Idaho Mountain Trail Ultra Festival.
Boom.
Um, and it's over in McCall, Idaho, and it's just a gorgeous, beautiful, rugged, remote race. In a lot of ways, really similar to Cascade Crest. Um, and I showed up for that race. I can get into like injury stuff a little later, but like kind of not where I wanted to be with training, but decided to just give it a go. And for the first 30 miles was having like one of the best days ever. Like phenomenal, like hours ahead of my like expected pace, just like huge grin on my face. And then like right at about the 50K mark into that race, my IT bands just kind of went out, which for anyone who's never had like IT band problems, it's basically like I was not able to bend my knee over like 30 degrees anymore. So like running was like not a thing. It was done. But I was able to walk, and I have pretty respectable like power hiking pace, and so I decided to just like keep going. And I walked for the remaining 75 miles, which was fine for the first like 30 miles of that walking, but then because my body was not trained for walking, it was trained for running, I started to get like a pretty bad overuse injury. Like near, it was kind of like a shin splint, but like near the front of your shin, there's just like a bunch of stuff there. And my, like one of my extensor muscles was just like bad, like no go every single time I would step. I would like pretty much roll my ankle. And it turned into a total sufferfest. And where I was on like 24-ish hour pace, I ended up finishing the race in 34 hours, like just hobbling my way through the Idaho wilderness. And it was rough. It was a rough day. I was glad I finished, and I'm glad I pushed through that. But finishing that day, I had two thoughts. One was I don't want to run 100 again for at least 10 minutes. And the other was that I felt like, yes, I got this buckle and I did this distance, but I didn't feel like I really ran 100 miles.
Right.
And so I knew that whatever the next time would have been that I would have attempted this distance, I wanted to have like a complete day where I felt like I really ran 100, which obviously there's a lot of walking in there, but like, a lot of doing ultras is like feeling like you're giving your full potential and putting out, the equivalent to all the training that you have put in.
Yeah, it was interesting. Since we are friends and we've run together and stuff like that, it was interesting to hear the story from IMTUF. We had a lot of friends actually run that race. And so I haven't been there. I haven't heard much other than the stories that my friends come back with. And everyone was kind of talking about how our friend Ben, who also crewed Ellie this weekend, unfortunately couldn't make the show tonight, but was talking about how he was running with you for like the first 30 miles or something. He's like, man, we're having a great day. Everyone's like really like cruising. And he turns around at one point and you're just gone. So was it like a light switch injury, or was it something that like gradually the first
No,
30
that
miles
one
like
total light switch. Like there was this one climb, you like go up this forest road through these beautiful meadows, then you like climb this like rocky face thing, and then over to this long descent. And basically at the top of that climb, I took like 3 steps and suddenly it was like boop, like you were allowed 31 miles of running and that's it. Sorry.
Wow.
Like, and so yeah, it was just hobbling the rest of the way, and it was that race was probably, I mean, mile 80 something. I had the absolute lowest moment I've ever had running. Like it was this epic moment. Like the sun had just risen, and we crested over this climb over, I think it was like Diamond Peak, and we popped out of this forest area, and you could just see nothing. You see nothing for miles, and I was at like mile 80, and I knew I had about 25 miles left of this race, and the idea of walking at the pace I was going for another like 8 to 9 hours at that point was just, it was so much, like I was just thinking of how much pain I had left to like go through. And I just remember turning to Caitlin, who had been pacing me for like 17 hours at that point. And like she was also not having a great time, because like that's, she was expecting to pace for like 7 hours, so it was just like an extra like 10 on top. And I just remember just like crying and just being like, I'm dropping, like that's it, like it's not worth this much pain, and I got a really good pick me up at that next aid station, so like they kicked me out and everything was fine, and like I finished the race. But even, going into Cascade Crest, that was definitely on my mind of like, what if I hit a low again like that? What am I going to do? And for me, that time, when I ran IMTUF, it was like, it's my first 100. I want to get that buckle. I want to finish. Like,
Right.
I'm going to do this thing. And this time I was just thinking, if I'm in that same place where I'm not able to run in this way, like it's just not worth it. It's not worth feeling that much pain myself. It's not worth putting, you guys, my incredible crew through something like that. And so like, I really thought about like that was like my contingency plan, like don't get to that moment, like figure it out to enjoy yourself so you're not in that kind of place.
It was interesting to hear that story from IMTUF when you first told me when you came back, and Caitlin also was like shared the experience with us about what it's like to pace someone just walking, and there's only so much that someone can do to be your bouncing board and like support system, right? Like there's only so much someone can do of like, keep going, you're doing great, keep beating. It's a long time, but she said that it was incredibly inspiring to see the perseverance and the amount of pain that you were willing to tolerate. But I found parallels in the story to my Cascade Crest experience in 2015 of just, I look back on that still to this day and know the amount of pain that I was going through in the moment. And being my first 100, there's that like, I need to get the buckle. I need to get the buckle. It's about the buckle. And it's easy to look past the point of what did you put yourself through to get that buckle? Was that buckle worth that added element of suffering? And
Right.
do you look back on IMTUF and wish that you had dropped, or do you look back on it with pride and the amount of courage and strength that you had that day?
I look back on pride with pride for sure. I mean, it was like, that's the threshold of pain that like we, put ourselves through during ultras or endurance events, or really like anything we do in life, is really like, it's always kind of this equation of like, should I keep going? Is it worth it or not? But I think I look back at IMTUF because it was one of those things where, one, I really just wanted to finish it. Two, it's like, I think we're always mentioning like, it's for the buckle, I want to, but like, it's not like we're always wearing this thing all the time and getting
Right.
people to ask us about it. It's just this idea of like, you're taking on this challenge and you want to, like, you really want to finish it. You want to get it done because you said to yourself and to others, or like, there's just something inside of you that says, I want to go all the way through this thing, because for me to say that I've achieved it, it means finishing. And for me, it's sometimes a funny thing to think about, because you think of people who drop, 75, 85 miles into a 100-mile race, and they like the DNF there or whatever, or like they get timed out or for whatever reason. And they're like either kicking themselves because they don't finish a hard race, but it's like, you still went 75, 85, 50, 30, however many miles. You achieved this incredible human accomplishment. But yet there's something about knowing that like there's a meter and here's 0 and here's 100, and getting all the way over to that end, because that was the goal that you set out for when you first crossed that starting line. There's something about that it really does mean a lot. Just get to that end, and I feel really proud of that effort, even though it was a very long day and a half.
It's also, I mean, it's so easy to forget the fact that 100 miles is a ridiculous distance to run. I know we have a couple like beginner ultra runners and beginner runners here in the chat room that are kind of mentioning like, how do you even wrap your brain around this? And it when I read that, I go, I can't fail to mention that running 100 miles is crazy. There's so few humans on Earth that do this, but yet our community, we surround ourselves with this community, and so we surround ourselves with people who run 100 miles. So it's normal. And this weekend we're at a race where everyone has a buckle or has run 100 or knows someone that has, and it's just weird thing because it really isn't normal. And it's interesting to hear that story of like, you're absolutely right. 30 miles is crazy.
Yeah, and
20 miles is crazy.
Yeah, and to reference that, we had the conversation. I think it was last night on our drive home, because as a lot of you guys know, I DNF'd last year at Cascade, and I think I made it like 30 odd miles. I can't remember what it was.
38.
And I was really disappointed, and that felt like I had done nothing, And a couple of days after that race, our friend Destiny came up to me and she's like, you did my dream. Like, that's my dream to go that far. But like in that moment, you're like, and like, It just feels so insignificant.
Right. Like you left Cascade Crest last year thinking you had a 0.
Right.
Like that was a 0 accomplishment. And
because I didn't get to that 100.
The 100.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like Ellie's saying 0 to 100. And then this is it. This is the only way to succeed.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people drop at, I think, mile 54 at Hayek at Cascade Crest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, we have a friend who, she dropped and ended her day at Hayek, and she posted about it. I guess yesterday or today. My brain's a little fried on timing when she posted, and I was trying to tell her or comment to her you did this incredible thing. You ran 54 miles with 12 or 13,000 feet of climbing in it.
Yeah, it's bonkers
amazing.
50 miler. Yeah.
Yeah, that's more difficult than most 50 milers in this country, and that you got that far and had that experience and on these incredible trails that we're super privileged to be able to run on is it's hard. It's hard not getting that thing done that you were really aiming for. But something I know I often forget to do, and a lot of my friends and other folks and family in the ultrarunning community forget to do is celebrate what you have achieved, whether it's finishing that distance or 100 miler or even just getting to that starting line and going the miles that you do go, because what we train so hard for this stuff, and we should always remember to just celebrate the experience no matter how it goes, because it's so worth it just being out there.
Yeah.
This discussion, I feel like that's a whole other show. I want to remind everyone that, of course, we are live. We have Ely Gerbin here talking to us a little bit about his experience at IMTUF going into Cascade Crest this year. And we're going to talk about Cascade Crest here in just a second. Of course, we are live, so let's get to some of those live questions. Kim's pulled a couple aside here.
So let's dial it way back here. Marina in the chat room asked, how did you get into the sport? So when did you start running?
I'm pretty sure Marina is my sister. So hi, Marina.
And you do have an interesting story, and it's one of those stories that I hear and go, what? Come on. So yeah, when did you really start running, and why?
I started running really at the very end of college because my then girlfriend, now wife, Caitlin, had signed up for a marathon. There's a whole backstory. Check out her Ginger Runner episode to hear how she got started running. But she signed up for a marathon. I signed up for a marathon, kind of in solidarity. And got it done. It was fun. I moved out to Seattle. At that point, I signed up for a full marathon. And I don't know. Sorry, brain mush. Do you want to know running in general, or trail running? Because they're kind of two different stories.
Trail running. Yeah, trail running. Because that's what I know.
So after a bunch of marathons, Caitlin and I were living out here. We were hiking and climbing and doing all the Pacific Northwest stuff. And we were on a trail one day, and someone just went by with nothing on them. We were carrying our super big packs or whatever. And one of us, probably Caitlin, got this light bulb of we should start trail running. That's what we should do. So we signed up for Baker Lake 50K in I think 2014. And then just, I don't know, showed up and had the worst race ever. But we were so stoked and excited and really fell in love with the community that night. That's where we met our good friend Ian Burton, who to this day is good buddy of ours. And he first of all, he was the first one who told us that anyone had ever run 100 miles. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
And then also we kind of sat around at that finish line, and then we shared a campfire with these guys after the race. And that was just our taste of this isn't a marathon or road running where you finish, you get your baggie of stuff, and then you go hobble down the street to your car and go home and good job. There's a whole other piece to trail running and ultra running, which is friends and community and really celebrating what you've done and spending the time on the trails and being outside. And it's so much more, I think, that element that really drew us in and kept us here. And plus it's pretty nice realizing we work full time and we don't always have time for 3-4 day backpacking trips. So now we just run them, and it takes a day, and it's awesome.
And you very quickly became a good runner. I know that you've only been running for trail running for a couple of years. And I think even Caitlin's told me, she's I was really good at trail running, and Ellie was really good at mountain biking. And then Ellie started doing trail running, and he became very good at trail running. And Kate was just like, I don't know why it was so fast, but he got so much better. And I always love that story.
Was she doing this the whole time?
The man
Yeah,
that I love.
That's how she got really good at carrying like a bottle while running. She was just like
just fisticuffs the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like super. Thank you. I'm not that speedy. I like to think I run in like the loneliest place in a race, which is like the front of the mid pack. You know, it's like the leaders are way ahead.
The
like
mid pack elite, man.
The mid pack is like behind, and so it's just like in that there's 1 minute between every single person kind of place.
Yeah.
So like if you were to shout like, "Hey, like come run with me," like they can't hear you. You know? But I don't know. It's fun. I don't really know like how we went from like just doing this casually to like trying to push it a little bit. I think part of it is as your like pain threshold goes up and your like your suffer threshold and you go on longer adventures, it's fun to push yourself and just see where you can go with that.
What else you're capable of.
Yep.
I want to start talking about the year in between. So you leave IMTUF, you've spent 70 plus miles walking, and you're not sugarcoating that. I know for a fact that it was walking that whole time. What was it like spending those months after that race and even the months leading up to this race? When did your brain decide to run another 100? What was the reason? Was it redemption? Was it personal? Was it a curiosity? I'm really curious to kind of get into that little in-between area.
Yeah. Let me answer the second part first because it's pretty fast. I mean, I knew almost like the next day. I was like, yeah, of course I want to run another one. Like it wasn't so bad of an experience. I didn't want to do it. My leg was busted up enough that I felt like I took solidly 2 months just more or less completely off running. I started running again, I think that December. And at that point, like once things were really clicking and it started to feel good running on our local trails here in like Cougar Mountain, Squawk Mountain, that was when I realized for sure, like I couldn't wait to be out there again, giving another shot at this distance.
Sweet.
And I wasn't like, I didn't have any kind of, like reaction or like kind of like trauma associated with like the walking or how bad that experience went. It was more like it was a good lesson learned, and I knew what I didn't want to do again. Like I didn't want to have a race where I walked that much again. And so in the months leading up to Cascade, like what I wanted to do was just really get in good base mileage, get the training in, and feel like I really had one goal. And you guys crewed me, so you kind of know this when we talked about it. Like my goal was just to have a day where I felt like I was running this race. Like I wasn't like walking it, like I was really giving it my all and feeling like I was running to the potential based on the training that I was able to put in.
Right.
And I didn't have like a perfect training block or cycle. This was one of those springs and summers where life was life. It was super busy.
You have a full-time job. You have a life, and your social. So your full day job is not running. I just want to make that clear too, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got a rambunctious puppy, so like we couldn't exactly like go take off weekends all the time, just go run wherever. So it's like it's always finding that balance. And what ended up happening was I think after Western. We got back, and at some point, Caitlin and I were looking at each other like, man, I have Cascade Crest coming up. Whoa. And that was, it's like a month and a half ago. So we kind of just looked at the calendar and realized, like, let's see how much running I can kind of get done between now and then and see if I can put in a couple good training blocks, like I can get this thing done. And so I think I ended up running like 60, 70 mile weeks. So I wasn't putting in like 100, mile weeks or like, doing any kind of crazy specific training. I was just trying to make sure that I was able to run and feel pretty good. And with like my peak week or like peak like training day being White River, which is a month before Cascade Crest, which is a 50 miler out here in Washington as well. And so I felt leading up to White River, I felt like a bit of a tingle on my shin again, and I was kind of starting to chin scratch because I was like, oh man, like that was when I was like, is this going to be IMTUF all over again? And then I ran White River feeling great. Like I had an awesome run there, got a great PR, crushed 50 miles in a time I'm really proud of. and I really felt fit, like I felt like I'm going to go into Cascade feeling great. And then it was like, meow, like my shin just flared up like crazy. I could barely walk down the stairs. I was kind of forced into like a 4-week taper. And the biggest concern I had was whether or not this thing would heal up and if I'd be okay to run Cascade. And that was when I was really thinking like, let's, hope I don't have a repeat of IMTUF. And that was when like the mental game started to play a little bit, because there's a lot of the taper crazies that some people get, where it's like when you really tone down your running or stop running for a while before a race and you start feeling every little naggle going on in your body. By the 4th week of not really running, that was really driving me nuts. Every single little thing came up that was feeling tight. I was just thinking like, well, there goes the race. Like, that's it. Like, not going to be able to run 100 miles. I've got these great friends that are going to stay up all night. They're just going to be pissed,
We were, by the way. I just want to make sure that
I'm still mad.
We're mad. Yeah. Like, we're really mad.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm better.
Okay.
Yeah, better.
But at the end of the day, like all I could have asked of myself leading up to this race was like just get to the start line and start running. And if it, I knew with the way that this shin thing goes is that it warms up and goes away after like 4-ish miles, and it's like if that happens and goes away, like I'll just keep going and see how it goes. And if it doesn't, I'll problem solve. And if I can't run anymore, like we'll have that conversation. So that was really my plan going into it.
We got the chance to sit down with you the week of to kind of go over logistics, everything like that. What was, did things escalate? Like, so as we got closer to Cascade the night before, did that nervous energy escalate? Or having Caitlin also there, who's obviously a very seasoned ultra runner, was she able to like kind of balance it out? I know for me, I freak out. Kim is like my incredible balance. So if I'm up here, Kim is down here, and we kind of find ourselves in the middle. How was that relationship for you guys, both being ultra runners? Yeah,
we definitely balance each other out. It's funny because whoever is more, I'm laughing because Caitlin's like 10 feet away. Whoever is like more on edge about their race, like the other person like gives their like, Friday Night Lights motivational speech. And I like to think we both kind of just like, as we're giving it, we're only half listening, but then, at the end of the day, it matters. It counts. Like having a partner who understands this crazy thing that we do, understands the time that we put in and like what goes through your brain is I feel super fortunate for that. After we all met, and kind of talked through some logistics, the high point of like the nervousness and insanity was like a couple days before Cascade Crest. I was trying to catch Caitlin like a block down as she was like pulling out of garage, whatever. We're trying to commute home. And I ran like, I kid you not, like 40 feet on concrete, like not that far, like a part of a way across a building, and up to that, like the 3 days before that, like no pain, like I felt really good. And that 40 feet like flared the whole thing up so bad. And I got in the car and I just like looked at Caitlin and I was like, this is it, like I can't run 40 feet. How am I going to go 100 miles? This is ridiculous. So she kind of like talked me down, like cooled me off. Everything was fine. We got home, played with the puppy, and like I woke up the next day. It was good, and then showed up at Cascade and it went fine.
I feel like that's classic taper, just madness. It's not even taper tantrums. It's like, I'm injured. I know, I'm not saying that you weren't injured. I'm saying like the days before you're like, everything is bad. Like everything's reflared up.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, but now my knee is broken and I can't bend my elbow. Like this is it. And then come to the race and it seems like everything was actually okay. Before we start talking about Cascade Crest with Ely Gerbin, because he had a fantastic run, it was incredible to witness, and the positive energy that was throughout the event, both him and the people he was running with and the crew, it was amazing. We're going to talk about that in a second. I want to get to some live questions Kim has pulled aside. Go for it.
Yeah, since we are leading up to the Cascade talk, Nathaniel asked, Ellie, how long have you eyed Cascade Crest 100, and what does completing the race mean to you? So was Cascade Crest 100, was that going to be always on your mind as being a goal race?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's in our backyard. So
Yeah.
Easton is like about an hour away from where Caitlin and I live here in Issaquah, Washington. I think, I don't know if I even applied to the lottery last year when I was really thinking like I'm ready for 100 miles, but I knew for sure like like, this is the race that I want to get done. It's the family race, the local community race, and it's just being out on the trails with so many familiar faces and folks that we know, and on these trails that like we get to run ourselves also. Like, it's I don't train on these trails, but a lot of the like trails that connect to them I do. It's really special going into that, and just like coming in and, you know, going in for a high five and hug from good friends, and it's, you don't need to travel far. Like, I can sleep at home the night before. Like, this one's been on my list for a long time, and it will stay on my list for a long time, because it's one of those that, you know, like you guys mentioned in the intro, you keep coming back to it. There's something about seeing your trail family out there. I can't wait to be back, whether it's in the capacity of crewing someone, volunteering, or racing it again. I can't wait to get back to Easton.
We will be there every year. There's no doubt, whether we're racing, crewing, pacing, or just volunteering. No doubt. It is the local backyard race. There's something that draws everyone there who lives in the area, whether they're an ultra runner or not. I mean, it's old school, it's low key, but it's the kindness and
good
generosity.
People.
It's just good people.
Yeah.
Let's start talking about this race, man. So, one, you brought on the best crew you ever could have chosen for an event. And I'm not.
Maybe he's regretting that now.
Are you regretting your crew choices?
No, seriously. Like, man, you guys were so good.
Yeah,
like,
we are. Yep. Let's spend the next 20 minutes talking about
how good we are.
So your crew was it wasn't just Kim and myself. You also had Caitlin and our good friend Ben, who paced you, right?
Yep.
So Caitlin paced from Hyack to Mineral Creek. That distance, what was 18, 20 miles?
It was like 20, 22 miles, okay, since you guys picked me up a little bit further past the aid station.
Right, that's right. And then from Mineral to Silver Creek / finish line was Ben.
Correct. Yep.
So
hold on, I'm moving over because Katie's going to join.
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen, Caitlin Gerbin. She can't hear us. I'll wait for it.
Yay!
Caitlin, we just had you on the show, but it's great to have you back on. So we were just talking about like how Ellie broke down the pacing duty. So you picked him up at Hyack, which mile 55 through just past Mineral Creek, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I want to talk to Ellie a little bit about his race now. And I think, Caitlin, you can provide a lot of insight as well. We get to see him at aid stations come in, and we get to go, oh, he's super positive. He's super happy. But I think you have a distinct advantage to decipher cues and clues as to how he's really feeling. So let's talk a bit about the start line, Ellie, and like the first 30-ish miles, because we get to see you at like mile 26 through and then the 36. So how were you feeling at the start line? Were the nerves at max capacity, or were you pretty calm and just ready to start running? What was going on there?
I just kind of got in the zone and was like, I just need to start moving. And so like the first few miles, like I needed to settle in past the like nagging shin stuff. What was awesome is a couple miles into the race, I caught up with my friends Sana and Hillary, and we ended up running together for a lot of miles after, which I'll get into in a second, because that's kind of like the little bit past the first 30 miles. But Sana and I start talking, and she's like, yeah, I haven't really been running much lately. I've got this thing in my shin. And we start like trading off. Does it feel like this? And when you do this thing, it feels like that. We're like, like you are the only person who knows, like, and so we ran with the two of them, and then Dave Van Miller, who crushed. I think he came in like 7th. The guy was just like dominated the entire day. And it was, I'd say the first like 25 miles were not, they were like cruisy, and I had high spirits, and I felt good that I was moving, but I wasn't super in a groove yet. It's a lot of climbing in that first section. Like that first 50K is almost 9,000 feet of climbing. And so it was just like a lot of just grinding it out, getting the miles done, eating food, and getting into the cadence of like setting up for like a long day. I think it wasn't the only real low point I really had in the race was actually right after I saw you guys at Tacoma Pass, which is mile like 25.
Yeah. First time we get to see you. Yep.
Yeah. I was in a great place when I saw you guys. Like I was stoked. There's now a photo of me making out with my dog.
You're welcome.
But the climb after Tacoma Pass, just like I was just not feeling it. Like I was nauseous. my nerves were kind of getting to me. I knew I had like 75 miles left. I was really like, like if it's like this for a long time, it's going to suck. But then like the 5 miles before Stampede Pass at mile 36, like I was really in a groove. Like I found another gear. I felt what running fast was like for the first time in like a month. And I caught up to Asana and Hillary, who had pulled ahead a little bit. And now like the three of us really started working together, and it felt really good. Like we were kind of suffering together, and we were all kind of hurting in our own way, but we're like, the three of us just kind of like pulling each other and pushing each other and just kind of like cawing and whooping like on the trails together. Like that's like what trail running was about to me. You know, like that's why I got into the sport, is like being with people, sharing this experience, knowing that it hurts and it sucks, but you're getting through it and you're taking it one step at a time. And that first half really kind of just came together really, and like huge like shout out and genuine like seriously thank you to the two of them, because like I would not have come in to Hayak at the time or the high spirits that I had if it wasn't for running with them.
I will say that as we got to see that kind of play out at the aid stations, and it was really, we've seen it at a lot of races, and I know you two can attest to this too, but when a runner manages to group together with a couple of other runners that are either going through rough times or having a great day, but they're all communicating and sharing in the experience together, it can be a wonderful thing. And the three of you, you have all known each other outside of that race too, but you were all working together. You would wait for each other before you'd leave, or there'd be some sort of communication of like, hey, you guys leaving, or you'd see them leave and okay, I got to keep up with them. It was cool. You all three were working together. And from what, big shout out to Hillary and both Sana we just had on the show recently. Hillary, we got to get on the show soon. We'll talk about her race a little bit later, but it was really neat to see that it was a team effort and there was a lot of support. And when we saw you guys at Olali, there was the talk of, I was down, they were up, and they dragged me along with them. Like there's that sort of level of, we got you, that sort of camaraderie. That was really neat. Yeah. Caitlin, when you saw him come in, let's say both Tacoma and Stampede. So Tacoma Pass is mile 25, Stampede's like 36-ish. When you saw him come in, could you see this? Could you see him going through the low at Stampede, or what did you see when he came in?
So when I saw him come in with Hillary and Sana, I was really excited because I knew that if he found a good crew to run with, then it would allow you to like get out of your head a little bit and just like run and enjoy the course. So like that helps. And also Sana and Hillary are a ball of energy. So that also helps a lot too. So I could tell. And the aid station kind of, I think there's a Stampede, you kind of come down a hill so we can like see people coming down the trail, and you guys were like hooping and hollering. So that's like, that was pretty good. I couldn't really tell you had a low, but I think like, I was relieved because I think like, I heard you talking about your IMTUF story, and that like, I kind of figured that if you came into Tacoma and you said that things were good, then I had a feeling that you were going to be fine for the day. But I was worried for you because of that. So when I asked you like, how's the day? How are things going? You're like, yeah, pretty good. And I'm like, okay, I think we're okay. I think we're past that.
I think that's also a unique perspective, is because you guys being married and also both being ultra runners and having 100-mile experiences, you probably were just as nervous as Ellie. Caitlin, how was your week leading up to the race? Were you a ball of nerves but not showing it?
The week was a little bit stressful, but not just because of the race. But yes, it's like when one person is stressed about something that they've been looking forward to for, basically a year, right? Like you've wanted redemption on this. Like I was like, reflecting your stress a little bit too. Yeah. But the morning of the race, I woke up and I've like never felt better. Like I was so excited to go to a race and experience a race and be with friends and like be a part of this whole incredible thing and like not need to run it.
Yes.
Like, I was I'm gonna like make a few extra coffees, like eat a bunch of food. Doesn't really matter. So that was fun.
We both had like really, really busy weeks at work leading up to Cascade, to the point that we were like barely thinking about the race. Yeah. I started packing, I think, at like 7 p.m. the night before. Like, I should probably like get my food and stuff together. So it was like almost Like it was like a nice break
Yeah.
of life to like go out and run 100 miles.
We can relate to the neither of us are racing, but we're going to a race to like help out. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
We have a good question here that I think is relevant from Gavin. Let's go ahead and get to that question.
Yeah, Gavin asked, how big of an impact do crew and pacers have on getting you out of the low moments?
So talking about your lows and coming into Tacoma, you mentioned this as to the crew of like, I just want you guys to be positive and smiles the whole time. Like, so how big of an impact was that?
That was hard for us because we all hate each other. So.
Yeah.
And we're all very boring.
Very boring, no smiles, often just, how you feeling?
Yeah, no, so well, one, to be clear, like I cared less about that you guys were like happy and smiley towards me. It was just like it was important to me knowing you guys were having a good time. Like if you're having a good time, I will feed off you guys having a good time. I think crew and pacers make a really big difference. So going into like IMTUF, that was my like first attempt at this distance, and like Caitlin can kind of attest. I was thinking like, like I don't want any crew or pacers. Like I just want to be like old school style, like self-reliant, and I'll just show up and not need anything and just kind of like get the thing done, not even tell anyone. It's all for me. Like it's all about like I just need to know that I can do it. And I realized like that's one, it's kind of like a selfish way to think about doing it. And two, man, like all respect to people who do that. Like if that's your style of racing, like that's awesome. Great. But it's such a big deal. Like seeing you guys and like seeing how excited you are. And also like, this is what makes it a team sport. And we can kind of all share in this passion. And also like, it's a lot of work to crew, it's not like I've done it a bunch for Caitlin now, and it's like, it's nerve wracking, and it just takes a lot of patience. Like it's not easy. And so coming into the aid station knowing like your friends and family are there for you is huge. And it's just like, it's what I think about for like 10 miles at a time in between seeing you guys. It's like, I can't wait to see my crew. And then pacing is this whole other thing. Cause like what Caitlin was saying earlier about like running with Hillary and Sana is what pulled and pushed me through. It's the same thing with your pacer. Like they push you and they pull you. And if you're really jiving well with your pacer along the course, like that can make the difference between honestly like dropping because you're just sick of going like and running to being able to have the race of your life. I mean, when I was running with Ben those last 10 miles, it really felt like the race of my life. And when I was running with Caitlin like through the night, like it was like but really like you're running forest roads for 20 miles, and like that would like drive you nuts. Like it's like running forest roads is not really my jam, but like Caitlin's like recapping podcasts word for word, and like we're singing songs together and being stupid, and it was like we haven't had a really great run together in that way like in a long time. It was really, really fun. Like I had a good time running a forest road, which is a very strange thing to say.
Get a room. Oh wait, you have one. You're in it. I mean, I love that. I couldn't agree more. As someone who's been a crew pacer and the runner with the crew and pacing, like surrounding yourself with the right people, the right team, whether it's one person or 4 people or 8 people, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing because you get to share the experience together. And I look back on my Cascade Crest experience as one of the most memorable because the people that were there they're my best friends for life. Like it's an amazing thing to be able to share with multiple people. And I know Caitlin, you've raced states, Western states, this big iconic race. You surrounded yourself with people that mean a lot, and that race means a lot. So that means even more to the people who you're bringing with you because it is such a special race. So I just know that it's a super important thing. I'd say that the lowest we saw you, this is my opinion, is that when you came into Hayak, you looked the roughest shape of the day, and that you looked great.
Right.
So like you came into Hayak and you were like coherent. Hayak, for everyone watching, is mile 55. You come out of the tunnel, you come off the rope section, which is a short section where you actually climb down ropes on what at that point was muddy, slippery trail. But you come through this 2.5 mile tunnel, you pop out, and you're in Christmas because the aid station's Christmas themed. But you were acute. Your mind was on point. You needed the food. You needed to change your clothes. You could tell that you were getting cold and stuff. But that was that was interesting to see kind of a low Ellie, which I hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
How were you
The
feeling
tunnel?
at that point?
The tunnel was hard. I mean, so I was feeling okay, but it's because it's just flat running on like cement. Like it was just kind of hurting. And also like Hillary and Sana were total bosses. So we started out running through the tunnel and we were like just running like 3 abreast. Like we were like the 3 musketeers and we were all super focused, not really talking, just kind of getting it done. And we started like I was pulling ahead and kind of like keeping people on pace. And about halfway through, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, and so I kept dropping back and needing to like run up. And we were running like something pretty respectable, I think, like 9:30 pace, I think, throughout the entire tunnel. But yeah, by the time the thing was over, like I was like, I'm done running on flat things. Like, get me back on a trail and on a climb or something. I was not having a great time.
So Caitlin,
if it wasn't for them, I would have walked.
Yeah, and you guys all rolled in together, fast, fit, happy. You could tell that both Hillary and Sana they were on point. They were really dialed. So Caitlin, when you took Ellie out of the aid station, so this is where you pick him up as a pacer.
Mm-hmm.
What were it's fire road. The next 20 miles is fire road.
Yeah.
You go up a giant ridge, you come down a ridge. What was this like for you? How did you push him? How was he feeling through this section?
So luckily, Kim had paced you during your race in this same section. So we chatted a little bit, and I got some tips, which was really helpful because, I mean, the last thing you want to do when you're the last thing you want to do when you're pacing is all right.
This is the fifth member of the crew there.
Yeah, who was not a contributing member. In fact, she was just a pain in the butt the entire weekend. But she was like tired and napping and totally chill today. So that's just too bad. But anyway, you really don't want to like mess something up and go the wrong way. And you're on a road, so like in theory you shouldn't take a wrong turn. But there's also like a lot of little side roads or little campsites and stuff. And so it's like you're on. I think Kim said it's like that lasts a lot longer than you think it will. And it did. So it's good to have that perspective, but that's also good so that I could help guide Ellie's pace going out of that aid station. So I knew that for a section that's like forest road, I mean, it's all runnable, technically, right? I mean, it's a climb, so technically it could be runnable, but it's the kind of thing that, you know, because you're on forest road for such a long time, if you slow down, if you get complacent there in your pace, before you know it, you could lose a lot of time without really saving yourself any effort because you're kind of on something that would be easy to push a little bit on. So I was trying to balance, like trying to ask questions to gauge how he was feeling and figure out like, you know, how much can I push you here? How much are you telling me that your legs hurt because you ran 50 miles versus like, is there actually an injury? Or like,
Right.
You know, I really wanted to make sure we didn't go through that. And one thing that Ellie did a really good job communicating to me was just that, you know, at that point, he's like, it's still early in the day. The most important thing to me is that I want to finish this race and I want to finish it feeling good and feeling strong. And he said, you know, that's more important to me than hitting a certain time. Because I was kind of like we were looking at the splits. We're like, wow, he's like kind of on 24-hour pace right now. This would be really cool if he could do that. And so I was kind of thinking like, okay, we need to go about this pace on this section. But after talking to Ellie and realizing that, no, you know, he wants to feel strong. So, you know, we powered up that climb. And I was really impressed with how he was moving, especially given my last pacing experience with him. So I brought like way too many layers because I was just like, and way too much food because I was like, last time this was turned into an 18-hour thing. So like, I want to make sure I'm set. But no, he was great. Really easy to pace, really easy to crew. It was fun. I had a fun time.
When you guys left, I think all of us were like, take layers, because it was getting cold.
Yeah.
And I was like, we didn't know how fast he was going to be moving.
Oh, yeah.
And then you texted us like 2 hours later. We got to the top, climbing like a boss. Like,
Or like she has way too much stuff.
he
with
has
her,
a
right?
lot. Yeah, they carried a lot of stuff out with them.
That's okay. It's better to be prepared.
So you also had the privilege of pacing him across the trail from hell. So from the bottom of this ridge, you climb up and over it. There's about a 6-mile section that's known as the Trail from Hell. And how was it this year? Because Ellie before the race was like, they've cleared it out. It's the trail from heaven. It's super flat now.
Yeah, so I that was where I'd put my like trail work, like volunteer hours on. So I was like pretty stoked to hit that trail because I thought it would be like, I was like, it's so clear. Like I did it. I helped move trees. There's nothing on it. Yeah, no.
There weren't that many trees down. So I ran Cascade last year, but because of the course diversion with the forest fire, I actually hadn't been on the second half of the course other than the Needles 50K. So this section that I paced was the only part of the course I'd never seen before. So I was, Ellie had told me stories of the Trail from Hell. So I don't know what it was like before, but there weren't that many down trees, but it's a really technical trail. It's like on the course profile, it looks flat. You're like, oh, how bad can it be? You're along a lake. And, there's like some really steep drop offs and really uneven terrain and kind of like, barreling your way down the side of a cliff. So yeah,
it's just technical and it's slow moving. Yeah. Like at night, it's hard. Like when you're really moving on a technical trail during the day, you can kind of see those like few feet in front enough to be able to like know where you're going to hip, skip, jump, whatever. You can't do that on Trail from Hell. Like even if you know it really well, it's like you're still your visibility is your headlamp. And so it was just slow moving. And that kind of sucked.
Yeah, you're either looking at a 10-foot wall or a 10-foot drop off. You're basically doing up and down
like
the whole way.
Drop off.
Yeah, or a 100-foot drop off to the right, which is not pleasant. So we have live questions here. Let's get to one of these, and then we're going to start talking about what we don't have Ben to talk about the ridge, but I am really excited to hear about the section that Ellie just decided to crush. But let's get to one of these live questions.
Yeah, a question from Jeff Fisher, who is also out there crewing his lovely wife, Jen, who placed second female. Jeff says, "Hi, friends. Ellie, did you have any mantras that you would repeat in your head or maybe say out loud when times got hard out on the course? So any mantras?"
Yeah, that's a good question. I typically, I don't do mantras as much, but I'll usually get like some songs stuck in my head that I will like sing to myself pretty often. And the one that was stuck in my head, I can actually tell you because I think I just had it up. Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm totally going to tell you. Don't
poop my pants. Don't poop my pants. Don't poop my
pants. Two of Us on the Run by Lucius, I think is the name of the band. Like for some reason that was just stuck in my head and I just kept like, I think there's like a part of it that's like put one foot in front of the other. It's like the lyric, and I just kept saying that to myself, especially at the times when I was like walking slow enough where I felt like I needed to like kick myself up a little bit. But yeah, let me answer also Jeff's question this way. Also, hi Jeff, you're the best. I really thought I was going into this race thinking like I'm gonna have to pull myself out of a lot of lows over the next 24 to 34 hours. Like it's gonna be like game time, like figure it out. And I felt like I really didn't have to do that this race. There was really only 5 miles where I was like not having a great time. And then otherwise, like it was just awesome. And part of it was because I was always running with people, so like there was either a conversation or footsteps to follow or something. And my head was just kind of in the right place. And I feel really, really fortunate for that because that's certainly in these kinds of races, not everyone's experience. Like it's really easy to end up suddenly running by yourself for like 40 miles before you know it.
I love it. Caitlin just stepped away, but Caitlin did an incredible job of bringing you into Mineral Creek Aid Station. I want to show a little clip just to prove how much fun. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think your clip is going to be the answer to the question that we had earlier. And Millie in the chat room asked, what's the best thing your crew did for you? And I think this clip will sum that up nicely.
Clip sums up the best thing that we did for Ellie.
This made my whole night.
Never gonna let him down. Never gonna run around and desert him. Never gonna let him down. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna desert.
We rickrolled Ellie. Caitlin just missed it. We rickrolled Ellie at mile 77. So Caitlin brings Ellie up. We sit him down. We're doing some clothing changes and stuff like that. Ben's getting ready to pick Ellie up and take him off up to the biggest ridge of the race called No Name Ridge, which takes you up to Thorpe Mountain. And then Ben just starts singing Never Gonna Give You Up. Starts rickrolling him. And then we all start singing it. And then Ellie starts singing it. And then Caitlin starts filming and giggling. And we end up singing the whole song, or at least
it went on for a long time.
Like 5 minutes. I want to apologize to all the crews that were waiting for their runner that were sitting around because we probably woke you up from a deep slumber. We apologize for the noise at 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever time that was. But it was a wonderful moment. And I hope that was the best moment of the entire race for you, the most memorable.
Yeah, too. The viewer that asked earlier about, I think it might have been Gavin that was asking about what's like, is it worth having a crew? Yeah, for like moments like that. Because even if it's not documented, you just have all these moments with your crew and they see you, even when they're like, "Oh, you look terrible," and you just laugh at that for years. Like it's like those kinds of things. Like that will be a thing we reference for a long time. That ridiculous, incredible song and dance situation we had going on.
I want to talk a bit about the finish. So again, we don't have Ben here. Unfortunately, he's on a plane right now, but he's told us the story, and Ellie, I want to hear it from you. The last 10 miles. So this race does this incredible climb. It's like 6 miles out of where we just saw there. At that point, actually, it's probably 4.5 miles up to the top of No Name Ridge, grade 8 station. But then you're on this single track that goes up and down what are called the cardiac needles. It's a very difficult section of the course. A lot of steep climbing and descending. But the last descent into Silver Creek, which is the last couple miles there, Ben said that those 10 miles, he couldn't even keep up with you because you were moving at such a quick clip. What was what was the secret for you, or what did you do to get to that point and have so much energy? And how did it feel to have that much energy at mile 85?
It felt so good. I have no idea what I did. Like, I don't know why I had legs suddenly. Actually, no, I do know. I do know I did. So this is not like everyone. There's a debate on this, I think, in the ultra running community. So like, we don't need to go into that. But I took ibuprofen late in the race, and I think that for me, that was the big difference maker. Like the swelling and misery of like everything that's going on in your body, I had a reprieve from that for at least enough that I was able to really get a kick in my step. And so like the answer to like what I did, I think that was what got me over. But then once I started running, the mental part of it, what got me over that hump and allowed me to like really push even after I clearly felt the effects of that go away and starting to really feel pain, was it's sometimes like when you really get going and you're really in the flow and you're like running, like really feeling like you're pushing the pace, and it feels so good. Now it was really just, I clutched onto that feeling and just pushed it. And it started honestly, like even in the needles, like climbing up to Thorpe, I was using poles and I was like double planting a pole and like pulling myself up and just like cruising up the needles. Like we weren't moving particularly fast, like, but for that late in a race, like I felt like I was flying. And when we were passing other runners, I definitely felt like I was flying because, you're working hard. They're really steep, punchy climbs. Now that descent, I remember doing that descent, I think last year for the Needles 50K, and it is a long, super steep, technical mountain bike trail, which if you're a biker, you're like, yes, super fun. And if you're a trail runner and you have fresh legs, it's fun, but if not, it's hard. And I felt, I was like jumping over things and just flying, and Ben was right on my tail and we were like cracking jokes, like easily the best 10 miles of the entire 100 miles came from 90 to 100 for me. I knew I was going to finish this thing. My goal of feeling like I could run 100 miles, like in that moment, that's when I was like, I have achieved my goal. Like, I'm going to finish this thing, sure, but I'm running at mile 90 something, and I did it. Like I was able to run that far into a race and feel so good. And man, I'm gonna hold on to that feeling and channel that feeling for a long time to come. If it was really like that was when I felt the most proud, and that's what I'm most proud of in this race, is putting together like those final miles feeling that strong. Whether it was planning, whether it was like, the right time to take ibuprofen, or having good, like incredible people surrounded by me, like the climactic point of a movie for me, when like all the music is playing and everyone's tearing up in the audience, was that descent.
I think
go ahead, Caitlin. Yeah.
Oh, just like, sure, there was the timing of stuff, but I think like from my perspective, you also did a really good job of like setting yourself up for success late in the race. And so I feel like there's a lot of like mental effect that could come like once you're like feeling positive and you're feeling relatively strong, or maybe you weren't even feeling any worse at mile 75 than you were at mile 25. Like if you did a good job pacing, you were eating consistently, like you were eating more consistently than I was as your pacer, like you were on that. you were really smart about like when to run up something versus walk versus slow down. Like when we were pacing, like even on the forest road, I didn't mention this, but like, Ellie was, I think, doing a really good job communicating to me, like how he was feeling and when he wanted to push and when he thought he needed a rest. And like we did walk breaks. And that's something that I do a lot in races too. Like even if it's a descent, like if you're running for, it would be like five minutes. I'm like, okay, hey, in 5 minutes, I need to take like a 1 minute walk break. And I'm like, great, let's do it. Like, it's no big deal. And I think like doing those kinds of little things throughout the day, like can be like, just sets you up for success so that like, you can get to that part of the race and feel like, the sun came up, you're with a new pacer, you're driving, you're on a trail you're familiar with, you've got a descent and it's the last descent to get down to the finish. Like, you wouldn't have, ibuprofen can't save you from messing up a lot of that stuff early in the race. So I think that was probably like, that had to be something to do with that, right?
And like, the ibuprofen thing, like I'm typically not, I try not to do it, but whatever. We don't need to get into that. That's a whole other show that people can.
Yeah, we're not doctors, we're not scientists. I'm not gonna say one thing or the other, but I love that Caitlin said that. It was I'm sure the ibuprofen took the edge off the pain just because that's what ibuprofen does. But I do think it was because you did everything right throughout the race. You didn't rush the first climb, which is brutal. You didn't hold yourself to a certain pace through the PCT section. It was a cool thing to witness, I guess, via text, and then also via the last few miles when we got to run you in, was just to see yourself succeed because you executed the day exactly how, to your plan. It was really neat to see that. And those last few miles were fast.
You almost dropped both of us.
You almost dropped all of us. There was a point in that last, it was the last mile where I think I said, I just like, dude, you got 0.6 miles left. Like that's how close we were. And you didn't say anything, but you're like, okay. And you like turned up your running dial to a 720
I was
miles.
so in the zone. Like, I wanted to like be joking around and stuff with you guys because we were almost done.
Yeah.
But I was like, I had this really gross blister on my foot that was hurting. And all I kept thinking about was like, if I just run faster, that will stop. And so I was just like frowny face, like super serious, just like, meh, just keep going.
But we could physically see the pace just increase, and all of us just kind of went, whoa. Going.
All of us were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It was with the two, like, yay, let's go.
It's like, go Ellie, but you are now going to cross the finish line alone. Goodbye.
I remember that too because I remember looking at my watch being like, I'm going so fast, but it was like 8:30.
That's fast. That's fast.
That's fast for mile 99.
It is fast. It is fast for a lot of people,
That's
especially
Walmsley fast.
that far. But like the other time I was like, come on, I feel like I'm flying, and it, like that's like a normal good pace. You want to?
We're going to wrap up the main show here and move into the post show. I just have to say, as a crew member of yours, both Kim and I had an absolute pleasure, an absolute blast. You're a great human. You were incredible to follow. And I want people to watch this and know that just because you have a bad race, just because you have something that goes completely wrong, throws you off the rails, and you're out there walking and having emotional moments during a race that you wished would be better than it is, doesn't mean you can't go back and do something incredibly well and just give it another shot, give it another try, because Ellie did that, and Ellie proved that sometimes it just takes time, patience, and being smart. He did it, and it was amazing to watch, man. Huge congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I wouldn't have had it any other way, and I really could not have done this without you guys, so thank you. And yeah, absolutely. It's like a classic try again thing. So.
We're going to talk a lot more about this here in the post show for, 10 or 15 minutes or something like that. But before we get to that post show, which is going to be for our Patreon supporters, Ellie and Caitlin, where can people find you on social media? There will be residual questions and people will want to congratulate you and stuff like that. Where can they find you on social media?
I am on Instagram as LEG, so ELYG. I think it's the same thing for Twitter, but I really only use that when Caitlin's racing. I need to give people updates. And then Facebook, you can look me up and stuff.
And Caitlin, we've had you on the show before, but just for a reminder, where can people find you?
Through Ellie's Instagram or at Caitlin G.
Yeah.
That is correct.
KAYGLYN
That is correct,
_
Underscore G. Yeah.
Yeah, her name is just in the lower left-hand corner there for spelling, because it is
It's
a
weird.
couple Y's. It's a Swedish spelling.
Almost very creative. That's what-
Congratulations, Ellie, with a 24:38. Just like that on that course, that time is bonkers. I have to also commend everyone who towed the line. There was 180 starters of this year's Cascade Crest 100, and 146 people finished. One of the highest finish rates of this race, because it is so difficult. The weather held up. There was rain through a little bit of section through the night, but the temperatures were great, and people just executed. It was amazing to see that. People were finishing throughout the night, early morning, day, afternoon. It was really, really cool to see. I want to give a shout out to a viewer, Doug. I got to meet him out there. He and his brother finished at the same time. It was really cool to meet them. They're from Chicago. I don't know how they trained for the mountains there, but that was really cool to hear that they did get it done.
And also a shout out to Audra, who was also out there running, who killed it as well.
Killed it. Hillary and Sana, who both ran with Ellie, they did an incredible job. Hillary at mile 55, where the three of them managed to separate, Hillary just decided to run her ass off. She ended up finishing third overall, which was incredible.
She had an amazing race.
Kathleen Egan, incredible race. Yitka won the female race. Big shout out to Yitka. Absolutely crushed that whole race. Our good friend Jen Love Fisher did an incredible job too. Full smiles all day. Big shout out to Jen, who was not on the 100K show, but ran with me for the entire 100K
yes,
as a training run, which is pretty cool. I'll take full responsibility for her second place. And Jesse Lang won the Cascade Crest. This is the cool thing. Jesse Lang has run this race a couple of times. He won the year that I ran it through the storms. I don't know how he did that, but he did. The course record, he was within 6 minutes of the course record on a course that is 3 miles longer, because they added a new mountain climb at mile 15-ish. So Jesse absolutely destroyed this course. Big shout out to that guy. It'll be great to see him run it, because I've seen him run it a couple times now. Really talented runner, and it was an amazing race to witness.
I also want to shout out, so second place guy, Brandon Bedingfield. Sorry if I'm butchering your last name. He finished second, and then he came back and was volunteering at Silver Creek, which is so cool. Like, I was like, what? I gave him a hug, and I was like, did you drop? Like, what? He's like, no, I finished second. It was great.
That's what's great about this race and this community, is that everyone's there to support. If they finish, they hang around at the fire station with the volunteers. It's really, really neat. Before we move into the post show, so if you would like to join us for the post show, you can do so by going to patreon.com/thegingerrunner for as little as $1 a month. You support us, and you get access to all of our post shows. So not just tonight with Ellie, but all of our previous post shows, including the Rob Crar interview that we just did, all that good stuff. We are going to have Dave Mackey on the show tomorrow. So right now we have the scheduled for tomorrow. So next week's episode is actually taking place this week, because next Monday is Labor Day. It's either going to 90% it's tomorrow. I'm just waiting for the confirmation from Dave Mackey, but if not this Tuesday, then the next Tuesday, but assume it's tomorrow. You will get access to that post show with Dave Mackey as well, and all of the archive versions. So consider joining us at patreon.com/thegingerrunner. It's $1. That's access to all the post shows, including tonight's live stream. Before we move into that post show, though, Ellie, there's something we haven't done with you on the show before. Have you done the quickie question quiz before?
I don't think I have.
I don't think you have either. First time guest.
Did you study?
Yeah, did you study?
You thought I would sleep last night? Like,
he was up all night with textbooks and everything.
Yeah.
This is something we do with all first-time guests. Even though you have been on the show before, I feel like we've done it, but I want to do it for you solo, and I feel like your answers, now that Caitlin's gone, they might be a little bit different. So it's very, very easy. Basically, it's a rapid-fire list of about 10 questions. You answer with the first thing that comes to your head. When you are ready, give me a thumbs up, and we'll just rip through it. What was your very first race?
Baker Lake 50K.
Favorite place to run?
Oh, man. PCT North from Rainy Pass off Highway 20 in Washington.
Road or trails?
Trails.
Bucket list race?
Hard Rock.
Favorite running movie?
Oh, man. I just watched Pre, and it's really good.
It is good. Guilty pleasure TV show?
It's not even a guilty pleasure, but Caitlin and I watched Bachelor.
I think that's the most popular answer now.
That and Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
That's Brian
It's like,
Morrison's.
I feel like The Bachelor's like just not that bad. I mean, like it's pretty bad, but I don't know. I sit there and
You
like
heard it here
dissect all
first,
the
you
human
guys.
So Ellie's a big fan of The Bachelor.
And does not think it's that bad.
or the Bachelorette, like the whole series.
Oh yeah. What about Love Island? Island Ecstasy? What's it called?
What are you talking about?
Something completely different. What is your pre-race meal?
Thai food, like pad see ew.
I'm like, sounds risky.
Only 2 stars. Only
2 stars. Post-race indulgence.
Like fast food, like cheeseburgers, like gross ones that I don't allow myself to have ever.
And your current running kicks. What did you run Cascade Crest 100 in?
I ran an Ultra 3.5s through mile 75 through Middle Creek, and then the new 4.0s from there to the finish, which was the best decision ever, switching into those because they were like maybe a half size too big. So my feet, which were swollen, like I would like stub my toe, right? But the shoe was like big enough, my foot would never actually hit the front of the toe, so I wouldn't get the stub. It was brilliant.
Smart
Good
move.
thinking, Ellie.
It was that and the ibuprofen.
Yep.
And all the ramen.
Oh yeah, you did have that
the
beautiful cup
ramen.
of noodles.
The ramen was so good.
So Ellie, thank you so much for joining us on tonight's episode. Another huge congratulations to you in crushing the Cascade Crest 100. Really proud of you, man. And it was awesome and an honor to crew and help you get there. Thank you for asking us. Wouldn't have spent my weekend in any other way.
Thanks, guys. Thank you both for having me on and absolutely for like just being out there all weekend.
Absolutely.
I also would not have been able to do it without you, or wouldn't have had it any other way as well. Thanks.
And a big shout out to the Cascade Crest crew, Rich White, Adam Huey, the entire volunteer staff,
Rachel, who did an incredible job with the social media this year. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
If people want to check something out, like go to Cascade Crest 100 on Instagram. Like she was taking pictures and posting photos of every single person who finished.
Yes.
And it's just, that is the definition of like how much of a community race this is like seeing these great photos of all your friends. Like, man, Rachel, kick ass. Thank you for doing that. That made me so happy seeing all that.
Yeah. And it was Rachel herself doing it. Just what a cool thing for such a small kind of old school race to be able to take the step up and do this. It was amazing. Big shout out to Rachel, all the volunteers, all the staff. It is a race close to my heart, obviously, and close to Kim's, and we will be a part of it every single year. We hope you decide maybe someday to come join us at this race, volunteer, course mark, sweep, do whatever you can to help the organization there. They have a huge team that helps every year, and it is wonderful to be a part of. Okay, we'll see all of you Patreon crew in the post show here in just a couple of seconds. That's it. GRGR is coming up. Registration is closed unless, of course, you want to register via digital entry, which still allows you to participate and be eligible for all the prizes. And then this week, I think we're talking about doing it this week. Since we don't have a show next Monday, we'll be able to actually like package stuff up and ship them. But we have head wraps. We have 3 different versions of the head wraps that are coming to you this week. So keep your eye on gingerrunnerstore.com for those. They will be released. And all the proceeds go to benefit our poor pup who had to have cancer removal surgery, which took quite its toll. But all the proceeds will go to that. And all of them have a little paw print.
A little Gus paw.
A little Gus paw to help remind you that you are supporting him in his battle. So thank you guys, everyone, for watching, for joining us live. I'm sorry about my mush brain. We'll see you guys next week. I'm sorry. We'll see you tomorrow for Dave Mackey's episode. Keep an eye on social media. We will update with what time the show will be. And the YouTube channel. It'll be either 6:30 or 7 p.m. tomorrow start time, Pacific, but you'll get all that. Cool. Get out there, guys. Train hard. Race harder. Part of the hardest. I know I am. We'll see you guys next 24 hours.
Tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.